mom has my name on the sign.
Wait, is there mom here?
in the crowd? Oh my god.
No way, can't lose Mamba.
Mikyx escapes with a sliver, 12 HP, and now Broken Blade's in all sorts of hurt. Fnatic find another.
Pop it. They got it, but it's fine. Look, go for it. Very good, boys.
Nice.
They did not see me. Wait, let them hit. Look. I can go. Okay.
Really good.
Very nice.
Good job.
Welcome back to the LEC Summer Split Final. G2 take the first win against Fnatic, and Mickey's early game was incredibly influential, which will be a continuing factor in this series. There are also a couple of cool concepts Nisqy and I wanted to talk about in BB's trading and Mikyx's death tempo. Let's dive in. So, the first thing we have to talk about is the jungle pathing, right, Nisqy?
Yeah, I mean, okay, basically when you play against Zyra, you have to invade her, because if you don't invade her, then she's like 20 to 30 seconds faster to wherever you want to go. So G2 does decide to invade bot side, but that means that it's a split map, meaning both junglers are in the enemy jungle. And here, as you can see, Sejuani will end up bot side and Zyra will end up top side. But the only problem of that is that Kennen is a champion that needs help in the early game. So this plan of G2 is kind of weird to me, unless, as I said before, they will try to dive bot and do a 1-for-1 with Poppy dying first, and then Poppy will look to cover top, as we will see later.
Yeah, no worries. And before all that happens, right, something that's important is BB's trading was a bit sus, right? He eased forward, he misplays the lane a little bit and takes a very heavy chunk with Conqueror, and you're just wondering why, right? And there's no real explanation, it's not intentional, he just messes up and gets chunked, and that makes the dive really, really easy if they want to play it. Now, Mickey goes for a dive.
Yeah,
Nisqy.
so here G2 tries to dive bot and 1-for-1 Mickey for the AD carry. It goes bad, but teams like G2 and Fnatic, they use their tempo very well. And here you might think this is actually like a really troll dive.
Was it intentional? Was this death intentional?
I don't think it was intentional to not kill Jhin, but once Mickey dies, now Mickey knows that he has to cover top, because top is 1 HP and he knows Zyra is top and Sejuani cannot cover, so Mickey does the jungler's job here. And I really think if Mickey does not come here, the game explodes, because they lose bot, they lose top, and as we know, Kennen from behind is not a useful champion.
Yeah, so this dive is really, really easy, right? He's so chunked, all Oscar needs to do is just W with the empowered. But then Mickey comes in, savior, chunks Razork, and then Oscarinin even loses his flash, right? So what could have been absolutely terrible, because then you would have multiple lanes of priority, eventually turns into a a winning play. Death tempo. What do you guys think? Do you think Sjokz and GB, do you think that he's going to skill Poppy again?
Oh, a great question. I wouldn't give it to him, and it's one of those things that you always have to keep into account when you're playing G2. I think even if they would have lost this game, you would have been like, okay, maybe we need to take it off the table.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's Mickey's Poppies after all. If you're not taking it off the table, then you're giving it to Oscar instead, because that's another great Poppy player. Man, we have so many of them here in Europe. What's up with that?
But only one won the Poppy goal.
That is very true, and that is Mickey. He is the Poppy king.
Let's talk about the rest of this game then, because you know, when it comes to the advantage for G2 and the moves that Mickey could make on the map, that I think paid off quite early in the game. Fnatic still came ahead in the mid game in terms of some of these skirmishes. We saw it around Herald as well, but they couldn't hold on to the plan, it seemed like. What should have been their plan when they got their foot back in the game?
Yeah, I think they just got caught on side lane so often. Humanoid was in a position where he got such a huge lead against Caps. He was up like 1.4k or something like that. And I think they just lost sight of where G2 was most of the time. Some of this will also be credited that G2's map movements were incredibly smart. Towards one of the Drakes, Fnatic thought G2 was going to be doing the Drake. What G2 does instead is say, nope, we're not going to do that at all. We're going to move topside and try and kill you trying to cross map. So there's so much strategy in this game, so much high-level gameplay. But really, if there was a single player that you had to pinpoint who just ruined this game from Fnatic, it was Mickey. He made a support difference, a jungle difference. Zyra didn't get accelerated, and he was just clutch in these fights. Yeah,
he had his stamp on all the different facets of this game. It was G2 who won the game, and I think I like that you credit the fact that they had, you know, that trap in the top side where they got the kills, where they had, again, like yesterday, right? Someone who gets caught in a side lane and then they parlay that into a bigger lead. I don't want to say this was completely sovereign from start to finish, though. But what is frustrating for Fnatic, I guess, is that they did manage to right the ship a little bit. What are the things they're going to have to right more in terms of going into the second game? I do want to call something out as well, GB, that we were talking about. We talked a lot about how the supports would be covering mid. There was a lot of attention attention in the top lane in this first game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it just came from the matchup as well. BB had such an issue with the nice trade that Eragon and Nisqy highlighted as well, where he makes a mistake and the entire early game has to change as well, where G2 essentially just have to cover top lane. I think the proxy stats for BB in terms of being surrounded by his jungler and his support was almost double this game from what his average usually is, and that really goes to show that yes, they're a mid-game team or mid-lane team, but they're also ready to really swap everything around whatever lane that needs it.
And that is a mark of a great team that is able to win championships. You got to be able to change it on the fly. With that being said, what does Fnatic need to change? They are electing to stay on the blue side.
Listen here, we were looking at that draft. I saw 380 carry bands. We're talking about Hansama's champion pool was being small. We're talking about it being pinched. What did he do? He brought out an Ezreal, and honestly, he looked a lot better on that Ezreal than Noah looked on the Jhin. We've seen Noah's Jhin already. Mid to late game, we've seen some good signs for it, but once again in the early game, he dies isolated, right? It's clear that it's not that much of a comfort champion compared to some of the others. I think that you can already identify that Oscar's doing completely fine on the top side, and you need to diff the bot lane, because we have seen the Fnatic bot lane be better than the G2 bot lane, at least in lane.
Okay, that's a strategy that sounds good to me. Let me see where Fnatic is going in the second draft, and let's head back over to our casters.
And welcome back to our casters. We are here ready for game 2 to see if, once again, it's a 3-0 finals. Often between these two teams, we do see that. We've had 1-3-2, 2-3-1s, and the rest of the 6. In fact, that's 3 of them. In fact, yeah, that's, I did the maths quickly in my head.
You did sound like you were calling it like dance numbers. It's like 1, 2, 3, 3, 2,
1, 2, 3. And what a dance we've had on the Rift so far.
It's been a jig.
It was an early cha-cha out of Fnatic as they got that lead, and then G2 can win the game in the end.
We moved into a slow waltz.
Okay.
And then we got into some freestyle.
Isn't that just freestyle? Saying it's freestyle is just cheating. Freestyle. Big type of thing.
I mean,
you know?
I didn't pick the category. Ash, Misfortune, Sejuani, taken away from the side of Fnatic.
Rumble banned away from B-Boy in that top side of the map as well. See, Zyra immediately going to be locked in. I am kind of, well, with the Sejuani gone, I'm not as surprised, because Sejuani's been such a big pick across the series last time and this time, and now we're going to get the brand to try and answer that. So double AP junglers finally coming through.
Likely means that we're going to get some type of engage top, maybe even engage support as well. Fnatic this time around, though, taking away the Ezreal. I think that's smart. I think Ezreal is just a really strong pick. I've honestly been surprised over this weekend that it's been lower on the priority list. Let's not forget that only last week, Caps was first picking the champion to play it in mid lane. That's going to be denied away from Hansama, but there's an AD carry that's missing that he has access to that was banned last game that I've now completely forgotten. But last game
Zeri's still there, Kai'Sa could be the answer, but I imagine we'd be banned away as well.
Varus.
Varus,
that's the one I was looking for. Now the Nautilus locked in for G2 does suggest that they could be looking at a Varus. If they're sticking to form, given that they've already seen the AD carry ban, we likely won't see the Kai'Sa and the Zeri come through. Instead, what I imagine is they'll look to ban away supports themselves. Rel does make a lot of sense, maybe even the Leona. Fnatic, though, targeting top laners. They are likely thinking about the Renekton blind once again.
I think Fnatic could do well by banning Kai'Sa as well. Because you already have some poke coming out from G2. Nautilus ultimate will follow the Ezreal as he jumps away, and then Kai'Sa has the assassination potential to dive onto the back line. It's a long matchup that we've seen. It's a matchup we've seen for a long time where people pick the Kai'Sa deliberately into the Ezreal.
Also, specifically, when you go to leave lane, you leave the Ezreal and Kai'Sa in their 1v1, but essentially that's where Kai'Sa's strongest, because she hits the Void Missile onto Ezreal, she follows up with the Killer Instinct, and out-effectively trades that Ezreal in that 1v1 scenario. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Kai'Sa come through here, and then you can kind of set up for a Broken Blade to go for something that's a little bit more engage heavy if you want, just to have that follow-up on the Nautilus from Mikyx.
Well, instead it's Jhin giving some more range to the G2 composition. Next and Leona immediately locked in for Fnatic, answered by Ornn. That was a very quick second phase from both these teams.
All right, they're eager to get into game, and so are we. Fnatic largely running back a very similar draft. The only real difference is that the AD carries have now been swapped. Jhin on the side of G2 and Ezreal on the side of Fnatic. I'm excited to see how this one plays out.
I am not the biggest fan of Jhin in this scenario, though, because usually when I like Jhin, it's, hey, we've gone for a carry top laner, carry jungler, carry mid, and we haven't engaged support. We want some sort of follow-up CC coming through from the curtain call, the deadly flourish, to set up then for the rest of our team fight. But I think now you're just kind of missing a lot of the damage that Hans Sama could potentially evolve from the gym, because you tend to spend a lot of the start of the fight opening up with the curtain call. I think I would have preferred the Kai'Sa in this situation. It's still not a terrible comp all-rounded from G2. It's just, these are the kind of moments where I'm just not the biggest fan of Jhin.
The main reason why I don't like Kai'Sa in this situation is because I think that if you ulted in, you're isolating yourself from the rest of your team. There's not really much that will follow up with that engage.
Sure.
And so I think the logic behind the Jhin is that it complements the range that you do have, similar to how a Kai'Sa would, but also that there's not a very tanky side on the side of Fnatic. Renekton builds more bruisery than full tank, which Jhin, while he can struggle to a degree, struggles significantly less. And if he does get to pop off onto a Zyra or a Lucian or an Ezreal, he can do some serious damage. So I think it does make sense to me. We're going to be jumping into game 2. We'll see how things pan out. Because last game, Fnatic, they got off to an early lead. They found a lot of great skirmishes. But it was really that Baron. It was Mickey's Poppy that changed things and made things a little miserable for Fnatic later on.
Are you a master of the Rift? Do you never miss a game? Santander's here to reward you. Head on over to santandergaming.com to win weekly and monthly rewards like Hextech chests and skins. This week's code is a mystery according to our auto queue, but you can read it on the screen. It says Herald35. Just type that in.
Why do you always do that, Medic?
What?
Yeah, you could have just...
I'm like Anchorman. Okay? I'm one burgundy. I read what's on the screen.
But you didn't read what's on the screen.
Yeah, well, that's because I'm better than Ron Burgundy. Gameplay game 2, HUD. In-game HUD. Viz sponsors game 3.
Minions have spawned.
They have. So, you mentioned something, Vedius, and you said Fnatic got off to an early lead in game 1, and I was there. We watched it together, and I agree with you. The problem has been for teams against G2 across the course of this playoffs that getting out to an early lead doesn't seem to actually eventually win you the game. Because G2's early game across playoffs has been pretty poor. In fact, I would put it at a dire level comparatively to where they were in the regular season. How is it that they so consistently manage to fight back from behind?
They make smart decisions. I honestly think that the Baron itself was not a bad call from Fnatic. I mean, Dagda called it, I see jungle a bot, why don't we do this? But yeah, I think against the composition that G2 had drafted, it was just, it was always going to be a difficult objective to contest, and ultimately execution was better by G2. And I guess you could argue that in the clutch, G2 can rely on their execution. It's a very vague analysis because there's not really any objectivity to it.
Yeah.
But something that we talked about yesterday was the G2 magic. Nisqy even talked about it on the desk that we weren't really seeing. But we're definitely seeing a bit of it today.
Yeah, I think what G2 are very good at is actually Mickey.
Mickey needs to get out of this. He's already flashed and he's already down. First blood to Fnatic. That was beautiful. Okay, Jhin baits him in with the Shield of Daybreak into Concussive Blows counter, where it's like, oh, I'll stun you, you root me. They both pop their aftershocks. Mickey did not realize Jhin was going to hit 2 as he walked into the bush. Really well played by Jhin and by Noah. It was actually a top-tier support gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, though, you should have been aware that he's
known, it's still top tier,
right?
okay?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the positive side of it, Rob.
Yeah. I mean, nicely job from Jhin, but yeah, I mean, the creeps are about to die here. You should always be paying attention there as the creep dies. Jhin is now already there, gets the follow-up, and nicely done there to get that kill. And now Noah already off to a great start in this matchup in the bottom side of the map, but now Razork already going to make his way down here, knowing that Mickey has no flash. I think it's more to just make sure you can safely crash the wave, but maybe they want to dive?
It'll be a risky one. Maybe looking to see if Yike had started topside, could go down towards, steal away his Gromp. Razork coming in now. The next wave is like 15 seconds away. Noah's going to get hooked. Hit with the Deadly Flourish as well. That next wave is a long way away. More to poke Hansama and Mickey than anything. Oscar, though, in the top side. Gonna struggle. Flashes away from the tier, but the conflagration from Yike is enough.
Nice job from Yike to managing to just finish that one off. Just clipping him, but now Fnatic realize that could be the go button on the bottom side. Wave frozen away. A lot of vision. They know that the jungler is here.
Man, this is still super risky, though. The cleanse flash on Hansama. Mickey still has the aftershock. They flash for Hans. The cleanse away. Hans tries to jump towards the top side, but he's on the wrong side of the rift as Razork and Jhin find him. Mickey trying to trade in with Noah.
I mean, ultimately, Fnatic showing G2 how it's done. That's how you dive a Jhin. flawless execution. They get the summoners, both summoners out from Hansama. And now Fnatic continue to extend their advantage on the bot side of the map. Both junglers have a kill. You can see the goal difference is literally 0. As Yike was able to find a play on the top side of the map, relieving some of that pressure in a matchup that I think is already, I mean, early on is not favored towards the Ornn, but Ornn can definitely have a nice time into that matchup and eventually scales to a point where you just offer so much more in the later game. Yike, though, I think needs to turn his attention back towards the bot side of the map because I don't think you can afford to let Noah run away on this Ezreal.
Yeah, especially with the early tier buy already there, he's going to very quickly work up to Jhin, but Humanoid now going to feel a little bit of pressure as Yike moves up to try and help out Caps. Just really want to get this wave crash because it is pushing in towards Humanoid.
Oh, that's
Damage,
damage.
yeah.
That's Brands.
The power of his passive, you know,
Yep.
if you get those 3 stacks up, you just blaze,
But I mean,
blaze.
Just the burn,
Yeah.
right? Just that passive burn alone can be super obnoxious, especially at early levels. And as you rightly said, if you get those 3 stacks, it does even more damage. So they force Jhin back. Of course, he had no flash available, so not really going to be too stressed about that. Hansama makes his way back towards the bot lane. No objective taken just yet, but of course Dragon has only just spawned. G2 have shown propensity so far in playoffs to prioritize that side of the map. And we'll see if they continue to do so as pings come down on the top side. Yike going to be spotted out on the pings. Oscar 6.
I think it's much ado about nothing.
I think though what we're seeing is, because we were kind of hitting on it earlier on, is what do G2 do that's very good? It's getting Caps into a position where he can carry, and I know that sounds like, oh, we can just carry in fights, but it's not in fights. It's how he's then never set behind early and gets to a position where they feed him a ton of resources in side lanes, and then he ends up in this 1v1 situation so regularly that you can't actually play through that side lane against Caps because Caps almost always has an advantage, and that makes it really tough then when you hit a mid game. But Fnatic going to try and punish bot lane.
Yeah, Hansama, no flash, no cleanse, only level 4. Noah underneath the tower as Jhin is going to go in first. Mikyx low, down to about 200 HP. Jhin tanking up the tower. The Ignite's not going to be enough. Noah, though, 2 shots into his back means a barrier to keep him safe.
Another successful dive from Fnatic. In the previous game, they were playing on these stacked waves very well, and they're continuing that momentum here in game 2. Noah now with a very healthy lead in the bot side of the map. They get the kill onto Mikyx. They zone Hansama from a lot of farm. And this Ezreal is very quickly getting out of control.
And you're going to start to rotate that troublesome Ezreal up to that top side as well for Void Grub potential here too. You're already getting that crash coming through from Oscarinin on the top end, so he can reset, go and match the push on bot. Yike going to try and trade for Dragon as he knows that this is probably going to be the case, but in a tower take potential, Noah's going to have the advantage over a Jhin. So at the moment, G2 are going to be just behind the play because of the way the lane assignments are right now.
See Mikyx trying to team up with Caps in the mid lane. Jhin here as well, shepherding Humanoid towards that mid lane tower. Grubs exchanged for the Drake at basically exactly the same time. Broken Blade still no flash as Razork has made his way up here. Noah already here, of course. Call of the Forge God onto Oscar. He might die. The slicing Maelstrom. Oh, not even in this game. It's the slice and the dice. Broken Blade finds one. Noah, though, answers with a Mystic shot to get one of his own.
I mean, credit to Broken Blade, able to at the very least trade 1-for-1 as Noah gets himself another kill, more plates. 3-0-1 for the Ezreal right now, a 1.1k gold lead. Noah is getting insanely strong here in game 2.
Nobody catching this bot wave though for Fnatic is a bit of a fumble. Oscarinin, because he stuck around on top and didn't move bot, means it's a sizable wave that's died, whereas Broken Blade was actually able to get the majority of that first wave. So Broken Blade is going to be in a position where he's actually relatively okay in the grand scheme of things, and going to move back up towards his top side, but if he dies again, that's going to be a little bit more of a hurt.
And his flash is about to come back off cooldown. Oscar path towards mid, knowing that bot was not safe for him. It's going to be first tower for Fnatic if they have a couple more seconds with this top tier 1. And their gold lead will extend to about 2k. Once again, a sizable chunk of change for the men in orange today.
Take a moment.
Yeah.
It's just, I want to see how much Noah can do now on this Ezreal, because we kind of, like, we've already seen him have some great performance. I think it was the last split or maybe the split before on this champion, and now he's just been so far accelerated that anywhere he shows up on the map, it feels like it's nigh on impossible for G2 to really fight.
This is how they catch him out as well, right? Like, you've got Call of the Forge God, you've got Broken Blade going in, you've got the depth charge. Maybe it's enough, but if the Arcane shifts away and can just reset on the fight, it becomes so impossible to actually lock him down.
But also, if he arcane shifts away, Razork sets up his ultimate. It's like, cool, just run across all this. There's so much protection for him here. It's really difficult to just find moments to close that gap. So if Noah can play a strong game, that's going to be the detriment of G2. And Noah had fantastic games against G2 already. When you look back, he was like 10-3 on the Caitlyn. It was more him getting caught out at specific moments. So as long as Noah is able to just play safe and play around his team, this could easily be Fnatic just riding the coattails of Noah to a win.
I mean, that's always been the sentiment towards Noah, that while he can definitely have strong performances, can he perform when it matters, right? He himself has talked about how the pressure and the anxiety can get to him. A large part of the change coming into this year, or following MSI, was him wanting to move away from social media so he could just focus on himself and his gameplay. And I definitely think we've seen some improvements. You're seeing it in some of the stats so far in summer playoffs. But this is an opportunity for him to prove that and deliver on that. He's in a great position to carry the game for his team. Fnatic have a very healthy gold lead, with him making up half that advantage. Flash traded between the junglers.
Flash from Mikyx forward, but not really too much follow-up yet. The Stranglethorns will keep Yike and Summer at bay. Curl and Call coming down. Depth charge caps enough to get the kill. Mikyx trying to escape. The culling won't do anything to G2. TP behind now by Oscar. Will he be able to take out Summer, or will he just have to slice his way away from this? 2 kills to G2 already in the play.
An overextension from Fnatic. Razork tried to stick around after already burning his flash, and Mikyx had him in his sights. Now Noah trying to 1v2 here. Does have to be a little careful, but trying to put pressure on both sides. That's so much damage!
True Shot Barrage has already been used. Deadly Flourish doesn't connect, and Noah able to walk away. You can see the damage that this Ezreal can do.
I wonder if that was an overextension from Razork, because the way I see it, he was just kind of walking the mid, right? And
I mean, after, right? He burns his flash and then goes back in.
Yeah, it was one of those things where G2, that they just kind of overstacked in mid. It seems like their game plan was to set up to prioritize that mid tower, maybe get some deep vision, considering about Dragon. Of course, it was still about 2 minutes away. I quite like the aggression that we saw there from G2, because we'll look back at it now, we'll see the setup. You can see that Razork, he feels like he's very safe right now. He has Jhin in front of him, he has Humanoid on his left. He doesn't realize that he's sitting on vision, flashing from Yike, and it's at this point, right, where you're saying, oh, the re-engage, but then Mikyx with some quick thinking, he kind of creates the separation of Fnatic. They now have to rejoin. Oh, we don't have
Oscar
time.
caught out towards the top side, does have the flash, pops the Dominus first to try and escape this. Broken Blade still chasing forward, Oscar flashes, has the blast cone to get to safety.
Okay, loses his flash though. Not quite enough damage coming out yet from the Brand in order to find that kill. Dragon in 20 seconds though. Broken Blade's ultimate will be up in time for that fight. Question is, do they even want to try and fight it? I imagine that they will. They could, of course, just trade it for the grubs as Fnatic set their sights on the bot tower. They have the push in mid as well. Overall, great map state for Fnatic.
Yike on the way down, though, and I think that's where Fnatic are a little bit nervous. They know that reset's coming through. They even saw Sama leaving from the mid lane as well, so decide to back it up. We'll just move over towards the Dragon, and Fnatic, our G2 are just going to back away instead. Looks like maybe mid-control into a potential push-in for those Void groups, but even with the control Fnatic have, they can still heavily contest this top side of the map.
And just look at where you are in terms of items. If you're G2, only one real completed item, Yike with the Leandry. Static Shiv, yeah, it gives you a bit of wave push, but doesn't do as much damage as something like a Triforce for Noah, or the Black Cleaver for Oscarinin. So G2 willing to give over that second Drake. It's Fnatic's first of the game. They have 3 grubs as well. Razork's now up towards those grubs, doing a little bit more. TP invested by Caps. They're going to shadow him. They're trying to get plates out of this.
Yeah, there's a ward at the back of the Void grubs. They just spotted out that Razork was there. So it's the TP to keep the tempo up so they can force back anyone from Fnatic, as you can see there, moving towards the bottom side. Yike just kind of doing his due diligence to force people away, and they're trying to hightail it towards this bot lane tower.
True Shot Barrage hits all 4 of them. There's the Zenith Blade. Another TP in by G2 as Jhin thought it was a 2v3, but eventually it's a 4v2. G2 turn it around. Yike tanks the tower though, and Jhin gets one in response. G2 were just playing for these extra 2 plates in the bot lane. They'll get them, but they sacrifice their jungler for it.
I really think that's still a worthwhile endeavor for Fnatic, especially if Noah can get a kill into Hans.
Hans dodges the final Mystic shot.
They might get top tower. Like, it's so low, you have
That's
6
what I'm saying.
grubs.
Yeah, so what happened was 1-for-1 trade in bot lane. You also commit the TP from Broken Blade and from Caps. The tower's going to fall in top as well. Like, I think that was a great play from Fnatic. They've only continued to extend their gold lead. Of course, Caps now in a much stronger position, but losing your support in exchange for a 1-for-1,
yeah,
I think that's pretty worth it. Herald now alive, with the resets coming through from G2, you imagine that that's likely going to be their objective. We'll look back at the dive, and Jhin kind of goes in here, looking to try and keep Caps underneath the tower. Nice response from G2 as he uses the Valkyrie to get away. But it was this nice ulti there from Jhin. Locks out, it gets body blocked, I think, from Caps a little bit. So he takes a slightly awkward pathing. No flash available, means that he ends up trading 1-for-1. Nice play there from Jhin.
And then you got Fnatic opening up on this bottom side again, trying to get this outer turret for themselves. Mikyx can't really defend this with Caps, and they already know there's several members of Fnatic on this bottom side. Hansama going to try and move across, but bottom side tower is going to die off this play.
I'm honestly surprised that they keep sending Broken Blade to top lane. My expectation would have been that they would send Caps up and then they would try and cross map, concede the bot tower, have Broken Blade with his ultimate, just catch this wave on bot. Because look, Caps is just kind of a spectator here, forced to watch as the tower falls. There's not really much else that G2 can play for on the map. There's no dragon for them to secure. They're just kind of overcommitting numbers on the bot side when Herald is top side and an easy objective in the form of that top tower is too. So there was an opportunity there for them to potentially cross map, but instead they just end up as spectators as Fnatic secure themselves another town.
And it kind of comes back to, again, like, hey, we want to try and force gold onto Caps. I think this position, you probably could have forced gold onto Caps when moving them towards that top side, but you can see the 500 gold advantage, despite the fact the rest of Fnatic are ahead. It's kind of Caps who's that lone wolf with the lead for G2, and they just want to try and isolate him into a 1v1 against Humanoid, against Oscarinin, where he can try and punish with that gold lead.
Fnatic in firm control of this game. 3,000 to 3,500 gold ahead. They have 6 grubs. It's a Drake apiece. They now have the Herald to open up mid tower on the next Drake play. 90 seconds away for that. It's very reminiscent of game 1. I think G2 perhaps have less tools in their toolkit to really get back into the game. The Ezreal was so powerful for them.
I think by having Ornn, you always have a way to
get true. Yeah, I'm not saying they have no way back in. Jhin catches Yike though, and even with the Pyroclasm, Yike is down. The Strangled Thorns from across the wall as well. Might make it more. Caps finds another 2 for 2 so far in the exchange.
I'll have to double check that in the replay.
Humanoid
flashes forward, gets the kill, but I think Jhin predicted the flash from Yike with the Zenith Blade and managed to connect onto him. So really well played by Jhin, and now Fnatic open up in mid. They could potentially get 2 towers again. They have 6 Void Grubs here.
I guess the game plan there from G2 is to try and set up deep vision on the bot side of the map in order to be ready for the dragon spawning in 45, but more question marks for me. I feel like that the easy objective for G2 is that top outer tower. They continue to send Broken Blade up there. He's now getting collapsed on. Noah.
Bishop Barrage going down, and there's a follow-up from Hansama. Noah just gets a 1v2. Jumps across the wall, flashes the NRG logo, and on the top side of the map, Broken Blade is being chipped away as well. No escape for him. You have to think, where you're going to go, BB? It's absolute cinema to the top, or Razork to the bottom. In the end, Humanoid dashes forward. Broken Blade just trying to clear out the wave. He won't get it all, and Humanoid will take the kill. 4-0-1.
Humanoid is on a rampage right now. We look back at this fight.
Watch the Zenith Blade.
So the goal here was obviously, I guess, to steal away the red buff. Fnatic quickly collapse.
Oh, yeah, it just follows him.
Connects the Zenith Blade. The Pyroclasm, as you called out, Medic, does a lot of initial damage, but Razork over the wall, and Oscarinin on the front line does even more. Ultimately, though, this is a 2 for 2, so you'd think it's not that bad, but then this triple kill secured by Humanoid. And then to make matters worse, mid is then secured by Fnatic. They find themselves a kill in top lane as well. And Noah flashing the NRG icon just to do that extra bit of mental damage to G2 too, as they secure their the third dragon of the game. Fnatic with the momentum in their favor once again. 2 early games now in a row have been in their control. Let's see if they can close this one out.
I mean, this is more than in their control. Like, this is a demolition by Fnatic. They're 5,000 gold ahead at 18 minutes. Their AD carry is 3k in the lead. If Noah's in a fight, you have to think is going to go in favor of Fnatic. For G2, you're left wanting so far. Yes, you funneled some gold into Caps. He's about even with his lane opponent, and all you've done is try to funnel him.
Those are all valid points, Medic.
Yep.
But any Fnatic fan will tell you we've been in this position before.
Yeah, and any G2 fan will tell you the same.
Exactly. So I think both sides. Oh, connects. I don't know if that was good.
Mikyx tanks the tower for an absolute year. He'll fall. Depth charge goes down as well as Jhin tries to get the shield of Daybreak Stun onto Broken Blade. Was able to escape the clutches of the tower. You inhibited the target though. No TPs available for G2. Broken Blade has one. Hansama gets the root here, but doesn't open up the curtain call. True Shot Barrage clears out the wave. Humanoid takes an inhib tower in the top lane.
G2 are trying to race against the 6 Void Grub team, and you already had the movement that you needed from Fnatic to defend that bot lane turret. G2 way overcommitting on the map state, thinking that maybe they can get something back, but Fnatic coming out on top with just nice plays and nice engages.
Humanoid is absolutely monstrous in a side lane right now. And while G2 are doing a good job of trading kills in the fight, 1-for-1s, 2-for-2s, Fnatic are just getting way more on the map. They still have their mid tower alive. Fnatic's side of the map, sorry, G2's side of the map is kind of falling apart with the top side completely exposed. Baron is now alive with Fnatic sitting at 2 dragons with 6 Void Grubs as well. It's really been just their game from start to finish.
Yeah, and I think the G2 in trying to defend this are making a few mistakes on calls. Like Hansama cannot stand against Noah anymore. They're trying to essentially use him with that static shift to clear out waves, but Noah just jumps onto Hansama and is able to kill him and force him off the wave state, so Hans can't really compete there. When you end up trying to overforce in the bottom side, you've too many disengage tools with Razork's ultimate, Jhin being able to play frontline, Oscarinin doing well in these fights as well. So it just opens up Humanoid to fully play side lanes, and now G2 are in a position where it feels like only a moment's notice until Fnatic come back out on the map. Oscarinin pushes bot, Humanoid pushes top, and you get to set up that vision for Baron and play into these choke points where maybe you can catch out G2, like, ooh, potentially here.
Jhin has been on fine form so far today. Constantly finding these engages. Might look for caps across the wall, takes a chunk with the Pillar of Flame. Wards across the wall as well. He'll heal that up with Warmogs. True Shot Barrage coming out, meaning G2 kind of had to take the long way around. They're trying to take a shortcut here. TP by Ornn to the tower. Jhin low. They thought they were going all the way around, but it's ring around the roses for G2 as they find one. Quarter of the shot coming down. Noah able to jump away, but he's still locked up. And it's happening again. It's happening again, but Fnatic are trying to slam the door in G2's faces. Broken Blade falls low, 2-for-2 so far in the exchange.
A terrifying situation for Fnatic to find themselves in. A single overstep from Jhin is immediately punished. Noah gets caught with all of his summoner spells up. And you think, oh, they're going to get wiped. It's going to be a Baron. But fortunately, Oscar on the front line is able to do so much damage. We start this fight off with Jhin getting picked off.
It's because Fnatic were skipping steps. They try to push in towards mid. Oscarinin had already left to try and move to bot. So they pick off Jhin initially. Noah's then overextended. He gets caught. Now, thankfully, Humanoid also fed as all hell. So when this re-engage comes through and Oscarin's able to provide that front line, Humanoid is just able to follow up. And a huge amount was already used by G2 to try and set up the initial play.
Smiles on the faces of Razork as he landed a really nice binding into ultimate combo to lock up 2 members of G2 and zone them away from that immediate follow-up.
Also because he was saved from dying by Mikyx. Like Mikyx dredgelines him as the 4th shot comes out of the curtain call and yeets him out of the way of the bullet. Like, it's a bit of anti-synergy between Hans and Mikyx there. Still, Fnatic's gold lead, 5,000. A bounty on Humanoid's head of 650 gold. Someone definitely wants him dead, probably Boris, as he wants to get that gold in the pockets of G2. 2 items now complete for Caps and for Hansama. The Infinity Edge, second his weapon of choice. But 3 for Humanoid. It's gone IE, Kraken, and Lord Doms.
I'd like to see Fnatic slow down a little bit, though, in the way that they're trying to set up these plays, because there's no need to try and overforce like they're doing at the moment. You can, well, Dragon's going to be up, so they will take it, but over the next couple of minutes, it's like just push in mid, set up your vision, play slow, because if you find any sort of pick with Jhin or Razork, people die. You don't need to try and overforce these 5v5 fights and essentially cause issues for yourself. Now G2 though, are TPing in. They want to try and commit towards this. Oscarinin is in base.
Zenith played in. Jhin caught out first. The Stranglethorn's coming down as well. Mikyx's the first to die. Curtains open from Hansama, but Oscarinin should be able to collapse onto him. Can't get there in time. Both his supports have gone to an early grave. The Drake, the target for Fnatic. G2 pushing down mid.
It's a trade of supports, as you said. Dragon exchange for the mid-tier 1. I feel like G2's in a better position because they also have access to the Baron. With a lot of ultimates used, there's a world where they could force this in order to maybe get another fight out from Fnatic.
Tier 2 before Fnatic did.
It looks like they'll just...
in mid, at least.
Or just secured that objective. So Fnatic still put themselves at sole point, so it's definitely not the worst case scenario for them, and still 1-for-1 in overall kills, but just look at the map control that G2's gaining. They have vision on Fnatic's top side of the jungle. G2's able to get the Scuttle Crab as well. Fnatic now have to fight their way back into the fog of what Oscar acting as the front line.
They see BB on bot side though, he has no TP, so Fnatic might just try and force the Baron, knowing that they have a numbers advantage for just a moment. Humanoid only coming out of base though, might leave them a little short.
So, right, because all you need is a single ulti.
I mean, it's also
It's still on cooldown,
cost
isn't it? Oh no, it's not.
the game in game 1, right? We talked about that Baron play, the call to take it.
I prefer this play much more. Just prioritize getting that mid wave, forcing G2 to walk up through their top side
Then
jungle.
played in once again by Jhin. Mikyx has to flash away. Oscarinin will use the blast code, but he's pulled back with the dredge line. Flashes the wall. Caps dashing forward, looking for more. Caps takes the chunk with a mystic shot. The burn not enough to kill off the Croc. G2 regain control of their own jungle.
That was very close. I thought the Leandries might finish him off, but Oscar walks away with his life. He has to use his flash. Mikyx doing the same. You can see how on a knife's edge it is, but gentlemen, every time I look at the kill score, like, it's always lined up with the timer. 25 kills, 25 minutes, constant skirmishing back and forth between the two teams. And we're really setting up for that big Baron or Soul fight.
And the thing is, because you end up getting all those bounties around the turrets, G2, they're in a position where they're not that far behind anymore. That major gold lead is on Noah. If Noah can't perform in the fight, G2 can look to carry the fight through. Your brand does a ton of damage. Caps with that upgraded Ornn item as well, going to do a lot of work. So Fnatic have to be incredibly careful as to how they try and approach the rest of this game.
This Corki is really scary, man. Like, I look at, if I'm in the game, I press tab, I look at the items, I'm like, and then I remember that his Caps on the champion as well. It's a situation where Fnatic definitely can't afford to rest on their laurels. They're in a great position, as you highlighted. But this game could very easily turn on a knife's edge, just as we saw in the previous game. I feel like that we've got two similar drafts. Ornn, definitely a stronger engage tool, but Zyra, probably a stronger disengage tool. Fnatic, to a degree, have a little bit more range, but both compositions function in very similar ways. And so ultimately, a lot of these fights are going to come down to the execution and how they will set up around these objectives. We see a lot of little wards lifted around G2's jungle as they've been clearing out the Fnatic vision. But it's Fnatic who has first access to the Baron River for now.
I do think G2 have some non-committal range with Hansama. They can use non-committal engage, they can use with Hansama having that curtain call, because then essentially you just get to chase down a little bit, and no one on Fnatic apart from Jhin is really tanky enough to try and, well, absorb that. So I like what Fnatic are doing at the moment, which is just try and play out through side lanes. So maybe there isn't that moment, but Hans could open here if G2 really want to commit on towards Noah and Razork.
I think G2 should just try and force a Baron to get the TP out from Humanoid right now, because they can't really afford to send anyone. It looks like they are going to send Caps, but know that he doesn't have his TP available. He can catch that wave, but now there's a big window here where Fnatic can actually force something. If they started a Baron or started a fight, they would have guaranteed numbers advantage.
And Mikyx was seen recalling there as well, so Fnatic do have a moment. Caps' TP is like 2 seconds away from being off cooldown though, so Oscar's is about the same.
But I think that's my, like, just forcing that extra bit of pressure. I guess the concern is once you start the Baron, you're kind of using your turn to do that. So then if you then get forced away, G2 could potentially gain access into the mid wave, put Fnatic into an uncomfortable position. So starting the Baron does of course come with its own risks. But in a game like this, where ultimately it comes down to execution, you're always looking for those small advantages. And I know both teams playing very respectfully, playing very cautiously, vision being cleansed on either side. But it's G2 now that have control around the Baron.
It's also, like, there's just so much zone control from both teams when it comes to a Baron fight, right? Like, if Fnatic started up, Call of the Forge God, he's even got a nice little runway paid for him by the Baron to hit it. Pyroclasm coming in and a curtain call, right? Like, you might just all be fish in a barrel. On the other side, if G2 started up, Stranglethorns, True Shot Barrage, and the Culling. Like, Solar Flare as well, just add it on top of it. Like, either team starting it is a risky endeavor unless they pull off it properly. Broken Blade TPing in here. The Solar Flare going down on Timber. The Bellows Breath will avoid the stun. Mikyx tanks the Culling. Pyroclasm bouncing around. But no play is passive. Call of the Forge God comes back. Noah trying to escape. The curtain's open. The hook back from Mikyx, but into the Stevax. Mikyx will fall. Oscar just able to escape. Look at Noah, less than 12 HP! And you gets him! Some sort of burn pulled out of nowhere, out of the ether as Jhin dives in with the Zenith Blade and Humanoid begins to open up, like slinging, shooting shots into the back of Broken Blade. Jhin now caught out. Hansama doesn't quite have the damage to actually kill off the Leona, but G2 somehow found Noah in that fight.
Humanoid is going to go for the reset. He can teleport back in, so it may just be a breath before round 2 as Fnatic start to step up again. Oscarinin can start to move across.
Razork healing up off the jungle camps as quickly as he can. The crazy thing is, because of the deficit that G2's at, that's a bounty. Yeah. They've just claimed a bounty, but you look at how close these fights are, and it doesn't feel like they're at that kind of a deficit. Mikyx just fumbles the engage, the TP comes through, Fnatic turn all their attention knowing that they have the numbers advantage, and Humanoid does so much damage in this fight, but the Pyroclasm in exchange, Noah goes in trying to finish off members, he gets chunked out by Cams, chunked out by Yike, and he's immediately forced to retreat. Look at the burn! He just gets eviscerated from the passive damage from Brand. He tries to heal up on the Raptors, he can't quite connect the Q.
I actually think it might have been a conflagration bounce. So the Blaze passive conflagration is the E.
No, I know,
yeah, I think that just bounces to him right at the last moment, which is what kills him off. But very close there for Noah. Solar Flare going down. Hansama just gets chunked. The Strangle Thorns has been used. Mikyx trying to retreat, but already Caps is down. A huge shutdown for Humanoid as G2 have to retreat. Mikyx will heal up in a second. Instead, he's just going to go back to base.
I mean, Humanoid is in playoffs form right now. This man is a monster. And the fact that he was able to find that kill onto Caps, no TP, means that Baron is primed for the taking.
Hanzama still has ultimate though if he wants to start to unload onto Fnatic in the pit. There it is.
There's the curtain call. It's onto Oscarinin. Broken Blade and Yike trying to get towards the pit. The call to the Forge God lands onto 3. Jhin diving in. Oscarinin dies. The Baron resets. Broken Blade getting onto the backline, and there goes Humanoid. Is looking to make it 2. But Noah in the arc with him instead. Jhin will be the one that falls. Mikyx flashes! And once again, somehow out of nowhere, G2 find victory in the jaws of defeat.
Fnatic just cannot keep G2 away. G2 find their moment to come back in. Hansama has a great ultimate, and just like that, G2 get the Baron.
Broken Blade on the backline finds a 3-man knockup. Excellent execution from him to just turn the fight completely on its head. Look at Humanoid, the culling was monstrous. He catches Caps out, who tries to trade it back by using the Valkyrie in, but G2 has too low health to contest. They slowly start to heal up, the Warmog's coming through, but keep your eyes on Broken Blade on the bottom right. Yike is able to melt through on the Baron buff. The 3-man knockup into the wall connect. Oh, Broken Blade, and then he gets the kill onto Humanoid as well. This is why Ornn is known as the tank mage, assassin, killer, bruiser, amazing champion. He's coming through on the late game, and it's G2 with the Baron.
Barely even got the brittle proc onto Noah. It barely faded just as he went for the auto attack, and now G2 with Baron setting up push on top, already having that wave shoved in on mid. G2 should be able to get this top lane outer. I don't think Fnatic can really defend this.
The tier 2 for G2, their march ever onwards, ever forwards towards the base of Fnatic, who are now on the back foot after being on the front foot basically the whole game. Oscar down to half HP. Caps about the same, but he continues to put the missiles down. Broken Blade tanking this up. True Shot Barrage coming out, doesn't clear out the minion wave. The curtain call has been used as Hansama tries to end this show early. Inhibitor will fall. Hansama just holds on to the shots. Hits Jhin with the last, a parting gift from the Jhin, from G2. They have the gold lead for the first time this game, pretty much. It's rinse and repeat. The scriptwriter's getting bored, it seems. Just gives us the same story, game 1, game 2.
And that's where I think in those kind of situations, Hansama can do so much with the curtain call, just forcing Fnatic off of their turret, forcing them away from the inhibitor. So, like, you can't walk up, because if a slow hits, there's just so much follow-up from G2.
It is actually the first time this game they've been in the lead.
The tiniest wiggle of red on that goal difference graph. But now, set up again, G2. They have 2 more waves they can play off of with a minute left on the Red Bull Baron power play. Maybe they can get down to start threatening this tier 2 in the bot side, but it'll be one last drag of an attempt.
It's got to be so frustrating for Fnatic fans, because you can see them doing all the right steps, making so many good moves in the early game, but then they just fumble the execution at the last moment. They're getting outplayed in these last few fights, and all of a sudden the momentum swings so dramatically. Great damage once again from Humanoid.
So look at the damage back from Caps. BBTP's in. Trying to keep that minion wave healthy. Other tier 2 still full HP. True Shot Barrage onto Caps. Humanoid dashes forward. G2 starts to disengage. Caps has a TP. The Drake up in 20 seconds time. Fnatic see that opportunity to engage. Sjokz goes in with a shield at Daybreak. But here comes the curtain call. Solo player's only going to land onto one. And Caps opens up onto Jhin. The power of the sun. Not enough to keep Caps at bay. Humanoid down. Fnatic down again, it seems. Noah caught out. He tries to jazz away. He manages to survive with a flash, with a barrier. He jumps back in. He gets Caps. But Hans Summer sinks a bullet in his back, puts him in the dirt with 4 members of Fnatic.
And that might be it for Fnatic. G2 are tearing through the base. Fnatic once more. They look like they had it, but G2, they just live in their heads.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. It seems for Fnatic it's the same old story. Fnatic versus G2 is always a banger, but I'm sure Fnatic would want the tale to be told differently. Jhin will find one, but G2 will be just one game away from Summer Split champions.
They're looking for the 3-peat in our new format. It has never been done before. It was stopped by Mad Lions last year, but the momentum is all the way in G2's favor, and they're not having clean games. Their early games are bad. Fnatic, they are the driving force in this series, but they need to find a way to close this out if they want to bring us back into a potential Game 5.
They definitely do. We'll see what they can change in the next 15 minutes or so. We're going to go to a short break. It's a short turnaround for Fnatic. Can they strike back in Game 3?
Welcome new recruits to Anima Squad! Please pay attention to this briefing for the highest chance of surviving your first day, and maybe even your second! Prepare to face massive hordes of Primordian enemies in and around Final City. Your objective? Hold them off for as long as animally possible. This will require determination, creativity, and a huge arsenal of mega powerful augments. I calculate your chances of death to be...
Whoa, no need for that, thanks, Yumi. Sorry about her. First rule of Anima Squad, we're stronger together. So always bring your friends along. You never know when you run into an extra mean Primordian.
That way you won't be alone when numberless enemy forces overwhelm your squad. Again and again and again.
But don't worry, that's how you get stronger. Keep trying and you'll discover your true power in no time. Might even get your own suit someday.
Unless the Primordians obliterate everyone, of course.
We're not gonna let that happen, though.
Do it for the digital accolade!
Or do it for the last hope of humanity? The whole world is counting on Anima Squad. On you. So get out there and kick some Primordian butt.
Wow, this is amazing.
I mean, I had a break, so... do you want to try? I'll be right back.
I want to try. Me? Maybe. What am I gonna do?
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Wow, Vedi, incroyable, magnifique. What? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, keep it. It was so good.
Yours was better.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Hey, shouldn't you be on stage right now?
Hey, you got a pick. Tom Kent?
What? I was not expecting this.
And a crazy off-meta pick that secured you the win. How did you come up with it?
I just listened to my gut.